And moving on in terms of AI, and we're in for a treat in terms of an energetic speaker as the next speaker, and we've heard him before, and we're delighted. And this is probably going to be a continuous evolvement, as we will see in the speech coming up. It's David Chappell, who's the Chief Product Officer for Tripstax Technologies, and I think one of the foremost thinkers in terms of where we are going in this industry, the architecture, the processes, and he has a deep knowledge about this, and his own unique way of articulating some of these problems. He's a man who hates putting slides on the screen, so you probably won't see any of those on there. I am joking. You will see a lot, but he really gives an insight that I think is useful. He joined Tripstax in 2023 as Chief Strategy Officer, and soon after became the Chief Product Officer. But he's really found a wealth of experience across the TMC value chain and understands our business extremely well. He has some very strange hobbies outside the industry, which maybe we shouldn't talk about, but I will be very nice because he also holds a black belt in Waruru Karate Do. So I will be very nice to David, and he will be very nice to us. We're delighted to welcome back to the stage David Chappell from Tripstax.
Hello, everyone. Those who saw me present in Braga, I'm surprised they had me back after that one. So it's lovely to be here. Those of you who have seen me present before, then you know what to expect. Those who haven't, then good luck, strap in. We've got 65 slides, 217 separate animations. Let's go. Now, when I started reading the brief for this presentation, I was asked to put together an impact moment for AI. So, yeah, it looks like this. Ooh. Impactful, huh? This is a visualization of our database. All the little dots in there are actually functions, and they're all connected to other functions. And this is like a living map of everything that Tripstax does. It's almost like our brain. But it's nice, but is it meaningful? It looks a bit like an egg. Huh. Anyway, the problem is that it lacks context. Context is everything when it comes to technology, when it comes to AI. If you don't know what you're looking at, what you're talking about, or what you're connecting to, then the things that you do lack a lot of meaning. And context is really, really important when we talk about AI specifically and the integrations of AI, because if the AI doesn't know what you're working with, then context is lost. So I wanted to talk a little bit about context from a technology perspective and from the travel. So if we look at this, does anybody know what this is? It's a Sunday morning. This is an interactive session. Anybody? Anyone? Wright brothers. Who said that? It's this Kitty Hawk. This is the Wright Flyer. Orville and Wilbur terrifyingly lying in the middle. Okay, 1903. Kitty Hawk. It flew 126 feet at about 6 foot high at a cracking speed of Mach 0.006, which is about 6 miles an hour. Go forward 60 years, and there's this thing. Anybody know what this is? Come on. Anyone? This is the Blackbird, Lockheed SR-71, okay? 1966, this thing could fly at 80,000 feet, 3.3 Mach, that's 5,000 times faster than the Wright brothers, in 60 years. Go forward another 3 years, and we have this one. Anybody tell me what this is? Come on. Well done. It's written on the tail, people. Come on. Right? It's the 747. So the Boeing 747, the largest passenger jet of its time until the A380, has a wingspan of 169 feet. That is 40 feet longer than the first flight, less than 60 years ago. So from a context point of view, you can see just how far travel's come, right? So what about technology? Can anybody tell me who this guy is? Kasparov, yes, Garry Kasparov. Okay, chess player. Can anybody tell me what this is? No, it's not a hard drive. This is IBM's Deep Blue. Okay? And in 1996, Kasparov and Deep Blue played each other at chess. This was in Philadelphia in 1996 in February. And for an entire week, the world was enthralled as a man stared at a table and held his face. Now, does anybody know what happened in 1996? Anyone know the outcome? The machine beat him? No. Kasparov won. Kasparov won 4-2. But it was interesting that you had 2 half points and 1 win inside of that 2 for Deep Blue, and it was the first time ever that a grandmaster at chess had been beaten by a computer. Now, Deep Blue, people said, was intelligent. But it wasn't. It was a brute force machine. Is everybody okay with the idea of brute force computing? You surprise me. Brute force computing is the idea that if you have a problem, that you have to solve it, and you use energy to do it, right? Now, I have a problem with this, Mark Zuckerberg. That is a problem, right? And if we try and solve Mark Zuckerberg with a single thing, what happens? It fails, right? You don't have enough energy. What about if I had another one? Or I had lots of these things? Go on. Click. Woohoo! Mark Zuckerberg is overwhelmed. Brute force computing is the concept that you just throw stuff at it, right? There's no intelligence in it. The idea of Deep Blue was that it was chess. You knew all the positions, right? So how powerful was Deep Blue? Well, in 1996, the world's most powerful supercomputer, Deep Blue, was capable of processing 6 gigaflops. I presume, as a group, we are comfortable with the concept of the gigaflop? No? You surprise me. Now, the gigaflop is a floating point operation. It's a trigonometrical calculation which basically describes something, but it's a very good measure of how fast the computer is. So a gigaflop is 1 billion of those things. That's that much. 1 metric shit ton. Now, what's interesting is how much does this stuff cost? Can anybody tell me what year this is? Anyone? 69, or a bit early, a bit later. 64, no. This is 1961. Okay, we have Gagarin, we've got the Beatles, £5 to watch them in the Cavern Club back then. The Jaguar E-Type, and of course Kennedy saying his famous, "We will go to the moon and do the other things in this decade" speech. Right, in 1961, how much did it cost to do 1 gigaflop? What do you reckon? It was a machine capable of calculating 1 gigaflop, 161 billion, $900 million. To be fair, that's probably more money than there was on the planet, and there certainly wasn't a computer that was capable of actually processing 1 gigaflop. But in 1961, this is what they reckon it cost. So if we go forward a bit to this year, what year is this, people? Come on. Come on. 84. Who said 84? Well done. Yes, 1984, the Karate Kid, Ghostbusters, Terminators, and the rubber-keyed Lothario that was ZX Spectrum. 1984, Orson Welles would have been proud. Now, in 1984, 1 gigaflop cost, what do you think? Bearing in mind in 61 it was $161 billion. Okay, I'm lying. 46.7 million, and we could actually check that, right? So, in the case of sort of 20 years or so, it's fallen by a factor of 40. Anyway, back in 1997, this thing happened. Radiohead's OK Computer, an album that captured the cultural zeitgeist of the fear of the rise of computing. This thing also happened. Apparently, they don't just sing. But more importantly, this thing happened again, right? Kasparov was back, and so was Deep Blue, and this time he looked like this. He was enormous, so he could eat a car and just... No, what do you look like, actually? That. Those clever boffins over at IBM just squished 2 of them together. So in 1996, it was 6 gigaflops. In 1997, we had Deeper Blue, that's what they called it, 11.38 gigaflops, almost twice as fast. And once again, the world was enthralled as a man stared at a table. Look at this guy, he's having a great time. Hey, who knew you could have so much fun when you're playing chess? But in 97, what happened? Kasparov was beaten. Kasparov lost 3.5, 2.5, and it was the first time that a grandmaster had been beaten in competition by a chess machine, and he vowed never to fight a machine again. And what was interesting is this was a brute force machine. And I've also lied a little bit. It wasn't the most powerful computer on the planet. The most powerful computer on the planet was actually the Hitachi SR2201, and that could calculate 600 gigaflops. So, context. Deep Blue, 96, 6 gigaflops. 97, 11.38. And actually, the Hitachi SR2201, 600. It was the size of a helipad, and they made it in the shape of an H so that you could actually land a helicopter on it if you wanted to. Right. Let's go forward a few years. Who's got one of these in their pocket? Hands in the air, please, or hold them up. Only like 6 people have got a mobile phone in their pocket. Really? This one's the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. Right. How fast do you think this thing is? Bearing in mind the fastest computer on the planet in 1996, 600 gigaflops. How fast? Come on, let's have some guesses. Gigaflops. Anyone? 200 was that? Nope. 2,500 in your pocket. Who's got one of these sitting at home? 16.7 teraflops. That's not something that happens when you get scared. That is an insane amount of computing power. And how much do you think it costs now to produce a machine capable of this kind of brute force computing? Just over 1 cent. So the process and the context of computing has changed enormously. It means that it's no longer the preserve of governments or the military or supervillains with lasers to own supercomputing power, right? But what was interesting that they then had an inflection point. Can anyone tell me what this thing is? Go. Well done. This is Go. So in 2016, they came up with a computer that was a blend of brute force and AI to try and play the Chinese game Go. Now, Go is an infinitely more complex game than chess, right? Apparently, there are more positional complexities than there are no atoms in the visible universe. You can't throw, there's not enough computing power ever to do that thing. So you have to use a blend of computing and AI. And it took about a year, but eventually it won. But what was cool is that directly afterwards, they created another machine called AlphaGo Zero. And they didn't use a mixture of brute force and AI. They just gave it the rules of the game. And in 40 days, it was able to beat the world champion, which I think is slightly terrifying. Anyway, what does it mean for us? What is our context? Well, if you saw me back in Braga, you might remember this, and this guy, Bob. The idea if you go back about 60 years to 1970, we had the GDS, and Bob was creating invoices. And then we brought in a back office, and the MER was created, the Machine Interface Recorder. A name so old it sounds like it's out of Downton Abbey. Mr. Garson, sir, there's a problem. What is it, Bennett? Well, it's the machine, sir. It's not interfacing correctly. Good God, man, what on earth have you done? Well, I put something in, and when it came out, it didn't look at all like what I put in. Oh, Lady Crawley will be most displeased. Have you checked the record? The record? Yes, the machine interface record. No, I shall check the filing cabinet right away. Sorry, I lost where I was for a second there. But as we move through the evolution of our technology, we then have the introduction of the internet. And the internet brought the idea of hotels and low cost and everything else, this connectivity. And we needed more and more people. We just didn't need like 3 Bobs, a Kate, and 2 Jeffs. We suddenly had a world where we had this enormous amount of complexity, all of these different systems, but fundamentally all of it funneling back through the GDS. And I talked about this last year, and I'm going to say it again. This is the concept of GDS.
GDS centricity.
Right? This idea that it's not about the GDS giving us everything, it's about everything that we do needing to go through the GDS. Now, if I simplify down that architecture, and we look at it from a systems point of view, this was the path that I walked. We talk about connecting a separated data store. We talk about having the ability to connect third parties, to move the things that we're doing out from the GDS and into somewhere where we can start to apply context. And again, this is really, really important as we walk the path. You know, we can enrich, we can move things like our documents, we can potentially do some cool stuff like QC and connect it into this data store and start to centralize away. Now, if we're doing that, if you think again about context, this idea that everything that we do should be accessible, then if you get to a place where you can actually disintermediate the GDS and have your information centrally, and it may be that the GDS as a content source, as an actual provider of content, also had other layers. I mean, Amadeus are doing some cool stuff, right? But that is kind of separate from their content provision. So if we can connect any other system to that, then it means that we can gather context. Now, one question, or one final word on context. There is something here that I hate. High fare, low fare. The concept of agency brute force. Who in the room currently has this somewhere in their agency, this idea of high fare and low fare? Don't be shy. I know you do, you bunch of liars. Okay? This, your fare, this is look at what you could have won kind of thing. If you look at this, the idea of context, trying to say, this is your fare amongst all of this other stuff, this complete data set is a nonsense. It's like trying to capture a butterfly from a swarm. Which one's it going to be? And then I'm trying to remember, what did the swarm look like when I took the actual butterfly? If you put it into other contexts, you could say it's a bit like buying a car, or an Audi, the A3, the red one with the heated steering wheel and the leather seats, and it's going to cost me £27,500. Well, I don't know if that's a good price or not, but as agents, we say to that person, well, I tell you what, it's a great price. But unfortunately, you missed out on the savings because of this car I found in a ditch. Oh, and I saved you 75 grand from buying this gold-plated Reliant Robin. It's a nonsense. Oh. If you then apply that to larger data sets, it becomes noise, right? Where is it in amongst all of these things inside of a large travel spend that actually makes sense? Where is that value that we're trying to add? It's all about context. We see it every single day, right? This is something I took off Google today. British Museum, right? On a Tuesday, it's not too busy. It doesn't say, the attendance is in the lower second quartile of normal attendance for a Tuesday. Right? It says not too busy. It's insightful. If you look at flights, there's a London-Düsseldorf. You get the faring, and then you get price is low. It's all about context. So if I go back to this idea that you can connect potentially any other system into a data store, and those systems could well be AI, and let's be fair, no one in this room is going to build an AI. I hate to break it to you guys, but you're going to work with someone who works with AI. AI is going to be developed by the megas, your Googles, your Amazons, and so on, okay? And in this world, this is where the context applies. Who are my travelers? What are they doing? What have they done? What is important to me as an agent and my to-do list? Contextualized results. And whether that's through email parsing or whether that is through working on content, make your data available. If there is one takeaway for the entire room, is that no one ever read a closed book. Thank you very much.
Well, I did promise you would be bored and there would be no slides, so you kept to that.
Thanks, John.
So thanks for giving us context, because I think it is quite important. I'm not sure what I should do about this. If I should just, normally people got frozen when they were ill and I hope they would wake up when the solution had been found to their illness. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think maybe I should be frozen now, because it's going to develop so quickly now that in 5 years' time, everything I'm doing now, everything we're talking about here, that will all be gone because it will be a different world. Or is that not right?
I mean, I think the statement that AI has never been as stupid as it will be today is very true. I think for anyone who, we as a business, we spend north of 4 million quid a year on development. It's probably well outside the budgets of most of the businesses in the room, with the exception of probably Amadeus. Even Amadeus, like the world's largest private data center, they can't afford to build their own AI. They have to work with IBM and the large guys. So I think what's important is that you have to make steps towards making yourself ready for when your partners and the market that you're looking at have value propositions that you want to use. That's the most important bit, because if you can get your data sets available, whether that's through your mid-back office, whether it's through an Amadeus product, or whether it's through someone else, this is the most important step, is make your things available for that connection, for that connectivity, for when the value proposition is right for your business.
But you probably don't have, you shouldn't look at here, you have to look at there, yeah?
Yeah, a
point
lot
in
of
the
people do
future.
spend a bit of time looking at their shoes, for sure.
Exactly.
But I think to do nothing is to put yourself at a position of risk. It may well be that there is a marketplace for completely analog, high service touch individuals, but that marketplace is significantly smaller than the rest of everything that's out there. So I would urge everyone in the room, when you go away, make sure that what you do and how you do it is accessible. And that could be, it could be through API, it could be through a third party, it could be through one of your partners already, but go and investigate what's out there.
Okay, so we can't all afford to be, the people investing, but we have to follow very closely.
Yeah, I would definitely keep, look at where you think you've got pressure in your businesses. Contextualized results in things like the to-do list for agents that I touched on is one of the big areas at the moment, because that can interact with the large player systems, like your Office 365s, using co-pilots to allow agents to be able to see what they need to do next. And, I don't think any agent in the land has, agents sitting around twiddling their thumbs. Everyone is working at 100%, 120%. So let's make sure that those guys get the best direction that they can when it comes to actually, what do I need to do today? And that, for me, would be one of the main areas you could investigate that's real.
I think we are beginning to get a frame around what's happening, and we have much more to come. So we thank you, and amazing that you have spent the time and the work to put this together for us. We really appreciate it.
Great stuff, John.
Thanks a lot.
Good to see you. Thank you.